Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. Jameson here. Today I'm going to be talking about Baldur's Gate 3 classes in comparison to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition classes. Also, if you're going to be playing Baldur's Gate 3 and have not played D&D before, Alex and I are going to be making a new video series called Beginner's Guide to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So stay tuned to the channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications to know when those videos are coming out. And if you enjoy this video and want to see more in comparison to the tabletop game versus the video game, we will be doing more videos on that. But that being said, I wanted to jump straight into the class comparisons, and there's a couple things on here that are very similar, but there's also a couple things that are very different. First of which is the Ranger is very different in Baldur's Gate 3 than it is in 5th edition, which makes sense because a lot of people complain that Ranger is the weakest, most underpowered class option in 5th edition. So they definitely made some interesting changes on here, which I'll go through in just a second. So the class features are all the same. You have your saving throw proficiencies and strength and dex, which are normal, light and medium armor, shield proficiency, simple martial weapons, all the same. Skills work a little bit different on here. You get to choose your proficiency skills on here differently, and then races all get insight, so they kind of just force you to take insight, which is kind of weird, but it is what it is. I kind of switched through all the classes and all the races, and they always force you to take insight. So it's whatever. It's not a bad one to have, I guess. And maybe with the dialogue options, they want you to have that, so it is what it is on there. But looking at the main abilities on here, favorite enemy and natural explorer. Favorite enemy in 5th edition tabletop is going to be you pick an enemy of a special type, and when you are trying to track that enemy, you have advantage on that tracking. Also, you can learn extra language, which I've noticed in Baldur's Gate doesn't seem to be a whole lot going on when it comes to language choices. Seems like everyone just kind of knows common, and that's it. So there are some little mentions to Thieves' Cant and stuff, but it's not really explained too well how languages work, at least not immediately relevant information. And you also get later on, favorite enemies and stuff like that. Natural Explorer, when you pick a terrain, so you're going to pick a type of enemy and a type of terrain, and while you're moving through that type of terrain, you have special bonuses like you can't become lost. You don't get slowed by difficult terrain. Traveling alone, you can move stealthily at a normal pace. Just things like that make sense in tabletop, but don't necessarily make sense in the video game version. So what they have done in Baldur's Gate 3 is they've changed favorite enemy and natural explorer basically completely. They're completely different things. So favorite enemy, you choose one of these, and the first one is Bounty Hunter. Gain proficiency in investigation and learn Thieves' Cant passive. Creatures you restrain have a harder time escaping. Interesting. Keeper of the Veil. Gain proficiency in Arcana and can cast protection from evil and good. Magebreaker. You gain proficiency in Arcana and learn the True Strike cantrip, which gives advantage on attack rolls against a creature. And you use Wisdom for the spell casting on there, which makes sense as Rangers use Wisdom as their spellcasting ability in 5th edition as well. Ranger Knight. You gain proficiency with History and Heavy Armor, which is actually pretty interesting to be able to have heavy armor as a ranger. And you also get the option of Sanctified Stalker, proficiency in Religion, and the Sacred Flame cantrip, which deals 1d8 radiant, Wisdom your spellcasting modifier, which makes sense. So you're getting extra abilities that are relevant all the time and also have other bonuses as well, versus something that can oftentimes just be irrelevant. So definitely interesting on there. Natural Explorer is also quite interesting. You can choose Beast Tamer, which lets you cast Find Familiar as a ritual, which is very interesting. So you'll basically always have some kind of pet. I'm not sure if the Find Familiar will be better or than the regular Find Familiar spell, but we'll see, I guess, on that. Urban Tracker, gain proficiency with Disguise Kit and Thieves' Tools. Wasteland Wanderer Cold, you gain resistance to cold damage. And then Fire and Poison, you can get resistance to those as well if you choose those options. So you're going to be getting abilities that are always relevant in the Baldur's Gate version of the Ranger, whereas in 5th edition, a lot of these abilities, or a lot of the primary abilities on here of the Ranger can a lot of times just be irrelevant. So definitely interesting. I'd be curious to try these changes in a tabletop game and see how that actually goes. It seems like an interesting option on there. But that being said, those are the main changes. And one thing I wanted to mention too before I move into the rest of the classes is that I don't like about the character creation screen is it only tells you what you get at level 1, which can make it kind of hard to determine what you're doing, especially if you're new to D&D, what you're actually going to be getting later on, because those choices might make a big difference into what you choose in the beginning. So I wish they would have some preview as to what you get later on at higher levels. So maybe they'll implement that in the full game, hopefully. But let's just move into the Cleric on here. So with the Cleric, you have a couple options. You have Life Domain, Light Domain, and Trickery Domain. Let me pull up the comparison on here. All of the class features are the same. Hit points are the same for all of them. I checked everything on here. So you have a con, which is +1, and you have your D8 hit die +1 con, which is 9 hit points. So all of them have the same translation in Baldur's Gate as in 5th edition. Class features are all the same. You get your simple weapons, your medium light armor proficiency with your shield proficiency, and you get your spell slots, of course. Wisdom, charisma, saving throws, all the same. When it gets to the subclasses, it gets a little bit interesting, and the spell selection gets a little bit interesting. So you get your spells. There is one thing to note on here when you look at your cantrips. These are the options you get: Guidance, Light, Resistance, Sacred Flame, and Thaumaturgy. And if you look at the spells on here, a little bit different. Here's your cantrip options. You don't get Spirit of the Dying. You don't get... What else is it? I guess no. I guess you get these. You get most of them options on there, which is interesting. But then you go to the actual spells of first level, and a little bit limited on here. You have Bane, Command, Create Water, Guiding Bolt, sorry, Healing Word, Inflict Wounds, Protection from Evil and Good, Shield of Faith. Some things I've noticed on these, in comparison here, is what you would normally get from. These are all from Player's Handbook, because they said that they wanted to establish the Player's Handbook versions of the game first. So I just filtered it by that. The second page is just Sanctuary and Shield of Faith. So you have Shield of Faith there. But no Sanctuary, a couple less options. And I did notice too, some of these have differences on like the range. For example, Guiding Bolt has a range of 60 feet. Look right here, 120 feet. I noticed looking at all the spells through the different classes, 60 feet is the maximum. So like things like Eldritch Blast and stuff only have a 60-foot range, which is interesting, but I'll get to that later on. Subclass features are going to be the same as well. You get your Bless and Cure Wounds, always prepared. Now, I'll make a comment about that in a second. You also get your Disciple of Life, which is the exact same thing, just worded a little bit differently, and you get your Heavy Armor proficiency as well, so those are the same on there. And then if you were to look at the Light Domain on here, let me pull that up, you get all the same things on here. You get your Warding Flare, which is the same. You also learn the Light Cantrip, which is from here. And you get your Burning Hands and Fairy Fire, which you also get in 5th edition here. And looking at here, there is something strange here. It has domain spells. They are always prepared, but then it has Burning Hands and Fairy Fire, but it also has Bless and Cure Wounds. So I don't know if that is a mistake, or if they're actually just letting all of the Cleric subclasses get Bless and Cure Wounds always prepared, which is interesting. Maybe they just liked that in the gameplay, but that is what it is. So looking at that, those things are all the same. Trickery Domain. Oops. There we go. Trickery Domain is the same on here as well. Let me pull that up. You get your domain spells with your Charm Person and Disguise Self, which is the same. Blessing of the Trickster you get, there is a big caveat on this though. It requires concentration in Baldur's Gate 3, which it does not in 5th edition. As you can see here, you get touch a creature willing and give them advantage on dexterity stealth checks. Get another creature advantage on stealth checks, but it requires concentration. And again, the Bless and Cure Wounds are also down here as well. I don't know, again, if that's a mistake, or if they're just letting all of the clerics have those two spells always prepared. But yeah, that's Cleric. Very similar in comparison to 5th edition. Next, we have the Fighter. Fighter is essentially the same. And I'll make notes too. The subclasses, I forgot to mention this, Ranger has the option for Beastmaster and Hunter, eventually, when they get their subclass options. Fighter has the options for Eldritch Knight and Battlemaster, so those are definitely interesting. You do get your second wind on here as well. There is no mention of fighting style, which is interesting, so I guess you don't get fighting style, or maybe they let you get it at a different point in time. Not sure on that one. But everything else is the same. You get your hit points are the same. Strength and con, saving, proficiencies, light, medium, heavy armor, shield, and simple and martial weapons. That's fighter, pretty straightforward. Already did ranger. Let's move on to rogue. Next we have the rogue. You have the hit points again, the same. They actually separated sneak attack, melee, and range, which is interesting. So there's that. Same requirements on there. And you have your dexterity and intelligence saving throws, light armor proficiencies. Yep, simple weapons, hand, crossbow, long sword, rapiers, and short sword. They also don't mention in any of these the tool set, I noticed, as well as the languages don't really show up either. Also, there is no mention of Thieves' Cant here, which I thought was strange because they mentioned Thieves' Cant in the Ranger. Which one was it? Here, one of these things. Urban Tracker gives you. Just kidding. Yeah, Thieves' Cant and Disguise Kit, or proficiency with Disguise Kit and Thieves' Tools. I could have swore I saw Thieves' Cant on one of these. There it is, Bounty Hunter. So yeah, they mention it here, Thieves' Cant passive, but then in the actual Rogue, it doesn't mention anything about Thieves' Cant, which I thought was very strange, because that's typically gained as well. You get your sneak attack on there, which is good, but the Rogue is basically the same, other than that lack. Also, oh no, I almost forgot. It doesn't say anything about expertise either. You can go to your skills, and it shows on here that you can choose your 4, like it says on here, but it doesn't make any mention of expertise, which is interesting. Maybe they didn't like it in the game, or maybe that's something they're still trying to test out, how they want to do that. Or maybe you just get it at a later level. Not sure on that. I'll try to... if there's any changes or updates, I will post them in a pinned comment down below. If I miss something, or if there's updates that I find out later, I'll try to update that in the pinned comment down below. So make sure you check out the comments. If there's any updates that maybe something I missed or something I found out later as I played the game, I'll let that be in the comment down below. But that's it for the Rogue on there, all the same. Warlock, you have 2 options, which is the Fiend... Oh, did I say Arcane Trickster and Thief Rogue are the options you get for subclass on that one as well. So, yes, something to keep in mind as well for that. The Fiend and the Great Old One are the 2 options for the Warlock. And there is a few things on here that I noticed. All of the proficiencies are the same. You get your Warlock spells. You get your Dark One's Blessing from the subclass, which would be the Fiend. So yeah, you get your hit points back. And it's kind of interesting because this one actually explains how the hit points gained are calculated, which I saw one of the other abilities, I can't remember which one, just tells you how much you gain back. It doesn't tell you the calculation for how much you gain back, which I thought was kind of interesting, but inconsistent in how the game explains those things. And again, as I mentioned, Eldritch Blast, 60-foot range. So yeah, there's that. Class features, again, everything is the same. You get your Wisdom and Charisma saving throw proficiencies, light armor, simple weapons. All the same. Again, no mention of tools anywhere in any of these classes, so I guess tools just really aren't much of a thing. But they mentioned Thieves' Tools in the Ranger again, so kind of strange with that. Not really sure what the thought process is behind doing it like that. And then you have the Great Old One. There's a slight different thing on here. Dissonant Whispers. Well, let me pull up the spells here first so we can make some comparisons. Let's look at the cantrips. So you have Blade Ward, Chill Touch, Eldritch Blast, Friends, Mage Hand, Poison Spray, and True Strike. Here are the options for cantrips. Pretty much identical on here, except for Minor Illusion isn't on the options there. And let me go back to Fiend, double check. There's no difference. No, it's the same. Okay, the spells chosen will be different though, because Command and what's the other one? Burning Hands and Command, I believe, are the ones for Fiend Warlock. Yeah, Burning Hands and Command, yep. So those are the 2 on there. The ranges are different. Burning Hands has a 17-foot range, which is weird, versus a 15 in 5th edition. I guess because I think the game was originally built around the metric system. I actually switched it to the Imperial system so that it would make a better correlation to 5th edition because everything's in feet in this. So I switched it in settings to the Imperial system for comparison's sake. But some of these are going to have I noticed a lot of the spells have different ranges. Like Hex has a 60-foot range instead of, I believe the original Hex is 30 feet? 90 feet, sorry. 90 feet versus 60. So there are definitely some changes. Witchbolt is 60-foot range instead of 30 foot. So that's the one that was extended to 60 feet. Also, the thing on here, not this one, would be with the Great Old One, is Dissonant Whispers inflicts Frightened, which is different. The original on here, Dissonant Whispers, I believe that is part of this, yes. So with this, normally they have to, if they fail to save, they move away from you. They must immediately use reaction if available to move as far as its speed allows. So it's similar to Frightened, but it is not Frightened. So I don't know if the conditions are going to be the same or not yet. Again, I'll post any updates down below in regards to that. But yeah, those are the main things. Pretty much the same, except the spell choices are a little bit different. Definitely interesting on there. And sorry if I talk a little bit too fast. I'm trying to get through a lot of stuff here and not make the video a million minutes long. So if I talk a little bit too fast, please forgive me. I'm trying to be better about speaking slower. Working on that. If I talk too fast, you can always reduce the speed of the video as well if you can't understand me sometimes. Again, sorry. Trying to work on that. Trying to be better about it. And I am trying to slow down. Alright. Try to do it slower this time. Okay. Wizard. Looking at the wizard. Boom. Wizard. Class features. You get your spell slots. Of course. Intelligence saving throw proficiency. Wisdom saving throw proficiency. Dagger, dart, sling, quarterstaff, light crossbow. All the same as you can see. Your actions. You get arcane recovery, which is a thing on here. Where is it? Arcane recovery. So yes, you do get that as normal. And looking at the rest of this, the options you have for subclasses on this one are abjuration and evocation. So fireball will be a thing for sure, being a wizard. And looking at the cantrips now, this is where things get interesting. Customize. The options available on here: acid splash. Actually, let's see, 60 foot. Blade ward is on there as well. Chill touch is the same. 60 foot versus 120. So again, a shortened range on that. Dancing lights is on there as well. Lowered range from 60 versus 120 in 5th edition. Firebolt is also only 60 foot range, so keep that in mind. Friends is on here. That has a 30 foot range versus Self in 5th edition, so something to keep in mind there. Light, Mage Hand, Poison Spray, Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp, True Strike. So you actually have a lot of things that are not available, such as Mending, Message, Prestidigitation. There is Ray of Frost on there. So there are definitely some that are missing from the options on there, but it's a video game. It's understandable that they would cut some stuff. Here is the thing that I was most disappointed with. Prepared spells, or spells known. Let's go to that. These are the only options you get to choose from. So let me switch this to first level spells, and I'll filter that while I'm going through these. Burning Hands, Charm Person, Color Spray, Disguise Self, Expeditious Retreat, False Life, Featherfall, Find Familiar, Fog Cloud, Grease, Witch Bolt, Thunderwave, Sleep, Ray of Sickness, Protection from Evil and Good, Magic Missile. Actually, Magic Missile, what is the original range on that? Oh look, there's 2 whole pages that you normally would be able to choose from. Magic Missile, yep, is reduced as well, that's what I thought. So it's down to 60 feet. Mage Armor, Long Strider, and Jump. Do you see all of these spells that you have options to? There is no shield. I see no shield on here. That is going to be very scary trying to play through this game, not having the option to have shield, considering you have a d6 hit die. So that is kind of scary. Yeah, no alarm, no chromatic orb, and these are only from PHB as well. So no floating disc, no identify. I don't know how common magic items are going to be in this game, but definitely that's all you get. Those are the only options you have. I'm sure they'll give you scrolls and things to increase your spellbook, but it doesn't mention anything about your spellbook. So not knowing anything about Wizard coming in, like if you never played D&D, try to play this game, not being able to see what you gain later on, I think, is a big hindrance, because you don't get to see what your character is going to become. You only get to see what they start as. So it's kind of like that mystery, I guess, like, oh, I wonder what I get when I level up. Which I guess can be good and bad, but I'd like to see more interest as to explaining what you gain as you level up in each of these classes. So I was kind of disappointed in that. Maybe they'll implement it in the final version of the game. But yeah, that's it, guys. Those are all of the classes. Most of them are very similar. Obviously, the biggest changes are the spells, I would think, and the Ranger being a lot different. I'm curious to see the options with Beastmaster and Hunter. What if they made any changes with that as well from the original Ranger in 5th edition. So that is what it is on there. But yeah, guys, that is going to be all for this video. Looks like I got it 21 minutes so far, so kind of short, I guess. There's a lot to go through, I guess, so try to keep it short. But if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so whenever new videos are coming out. We got more subclass videos coming out soon. We have a whole new 5th edition book coming out, which is Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's going to include a lot more subclasses. So if you're playing Baldur's Gate and you want to get into D&D, you can check out our channel for that. We'll be posting more stuff on Baldur's Gate 3 as well. Let us know down in the comments below what you want to see, more comparisons, things like that. But that's going to be all for this one, guys. And as always, thanks for watching.